What are you trying to accomplish? Do you have a documented sales process? If you don't have a documented sales process to help drive how it's going to be used, there is a point where you just have to roll up your sleeves and start using the system, because the data, dashboards, the reporting, it will guide you as to what may need to be tweaked, what needs to be improved. CRM can be used for a lot of different things.
Keep your scope tight. Get live on something that is basic but meaningful, and then you can build into it when you prove to yourself you will in fact use this system. Using CRM in the moment of data entry, that's an investment for down the line. It's going to give you a better pipeline visibility.
Today on the CIO Lifeline, we're going to talk about CRM. Now, this is a broad topic. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different companies. High failure rates within organizations, partly due to that complexity and how broad you can take that. Everybody has a different definition of what CRM is. Some use CRM as an ERP system. If you are considering CRM within your organization, or if you're struggling with your implementation, or you just need some general guidance and help, tune into this episode. Don't go anywhere. Tom, how we doing?
Great, Tony. How are you today?
I'm good, man. We talk about CRM a lot. We just never memorialized it into an actual episode, but I know how complex it can be, and it means a lot of things to a lot of different companies. You are very close to CRM implementation. So just to kind of seed this a bit, how many have you been involved with over your career?
Several hundred. It dates back to Telemagic and connections and some DOS-based stuff, but spent a lot of time around Sales Logics and Microsoft CRM and countless others. So, it's been a long time with CRM.
Yeah, my experience has been on the client side. So you bring a lot of partner expertise, so you get to see behind the curtain. My experience on the client side, I've witnessed a lot of pain, have been a part of a lot of pain, but there are successes as well. So just to start, when someone says, or a sales team or a sales leader says, I really think we need CRM, or I'd love to have CRM, what does that statement mean to you?
I usually smile. I say that's great. What is it you're trying to accomplish? You'll hear a lot of the standard things. Oh, we want better visibility into pipeline. We want, better notes for follow-up. Usually those requirements, only in the rarest cases do people have I found that people have really precise, clear, what does it look like when we succeed with this project? It's generally, an executive came through, somebody got blindsided, we weren't clear on our actual pipeline, or somebody's got concern as to whether the sales reps are working, or fill in the blank, right? But they got the pretty picture of the color pipeline, and everybody wants that funnel. They want to feel like they have that predictability and security in understanding their sales pipeline. But the fact is that it's a lot more than that, and the pretty pictures only come from clean data. Otherwise, you might get a pretty picture of something that's not true.
Yeah, so I like what you said. What are you trying to accomplish? That's one question. And then another directive or requirement is, do you have a documented sales process? And that could be imprinted in someone's brain, but you want to get it on paper. You want to whiteboard it because, again, CRM can be used for a lot of different things. And if it's not focused down, and I believe in the KISS method to start, but if you don't have a documented sales process to help drive how it's going to be used, and back to your comment, what are you trying to accomplish? You're in for a rough road. So before you introduce one license, write one line of code, visualize one report, there's a lot of whiteboarding and putting pen to paper.
Here's the challenge, I think. according to Gartner, and I think the most recent research was somewhere 63% of CRM implementations fail. Now, fail means different things, but essentially fail to reach the objectives that were set for the system when they started out. In my view, it really boils down to a lack of senior executive support. If you put in an ERP system and Tony decides he's not going to invoice today, that that isn't going to slide. But if we put in CRM and the top 20% of my sales team decides they're not going to enter activities or they're not going to put their notes in, what do you do about that? And if as long as they feel like they have a path to appeal, so they're going to go complain to the owner or senior exec, oh, you want me selling or do you want me, working on the computer? I'm trying to generate numbers. You don't want me to not close enough business, do you? And then pretty soon, you're
Number one excuse, man.
right. The president's got his arm around you going, Tom, does it really have to go like this? And the fact is it only has to go like that if you want it to work. People have to use the system if you want it to work.
Yeah, the failure rates that I've seen, it's the classic examples. Do you want me out there selling? Do you want me out there entering in data? Well, the answer is both. And at some point, the light bulb will go off, I promise you. But you want to have this personal ATM mentality when it comes to CRM systems, because you do reach a point where it becomes a tool that they need, that they look forward to. It becomes easy to organize. But that last comment that's part of the challenge, because if you start off with someone just being used to working out of their cigar box or just paper notes and kind of their own method to 50 data points of entry in a system implementation, you're off on the wrong start. Wants to be slow. You want to start to build momentum, build that trust in the system, and give them that ATM mentality.
I agree, and that's really been my experience, both personally and with teams that I led. One of the finest salespeople I've ever worked with lived on Post-it notes. I mean, they were everywhere, all over his monitor, all over his walls, and this guy was a top producer. Really one of the finest salespeople ever. And he just did not like using the computer. But as I tried to explain, particularly as he got further along in his career, it's really hard for your assistant or anybody else to fill in for you when you're not here. We can't see the Post-it notes on your wall. And God forbid a strong wind blows. It'll mess up everybody's day. Using CRM in the moment of data entry is probably going to take you a few seconds to maybe 2 or 3 minutes longer. However, that's an investment for down the line where you don't have to remember, right? It's going to automatically populate your Outlook with your follow-up. It's going to give your customer service team visibility into the conversations you've had. It's going to give you a better pipeline visibility. It may even highlight opportunities that you might not have immediately noticed. And so those are all benefits that you get down the line for that investment, of a couple of minutes documenting the activity that you had.
I'm just going to say it right now because it's a theme that creeps up in every episode: change management, right? That's part of the reason for this high failure rate. Sometimes you're dealing with tough personalities, but when you're used to managing your own day, your own way, and now you have this uniform system with data entry requirements, you get big brother complex that happens. But at some point, think of the net savings effect. I like going on vacation. Tom, I'm sure you like going on vacation too. Well, who has your back when you're out? Who has visibility? Who can see those Post-it notes? I love the analogy. So this tool equips those around you to pick up the ball and let you truly be where your feet are, enjoying that vacation or whatever the time off might be, right? And then for sales managers, for business owners, I mean, attrition happens, retirements happen, layoffs happen. How do you knowledge transfer that information to help onboard the next person? That's another area, another point where a tool like this becomes super valuable.
Fear of loss, hope for gain, whichever you're after. But if you're a business owner or a business leader and your sales team has all their stuff in their Outlook or on their phone, your risk in losing opportunities should that person leave is heightened, to say the least. And so, like you say, that's just an organizational safety valve, right? Let's make sure that all these opportunities are in the system. And you mentioned the Big Brother thing, and I just think that that's part of the change management process, right? The reason we're putting this in is not the Big Brother purpose, right? At least on my team. I'm not going to spend somewhere between 75 and $500,000 putting in a CRM system because I think I have to babysit Tony. If I want to spend even at the low end 75 grand to babysit Tony, what I need to do is fire Tony.
I've been carrying your ass in this place ever since I got here. Get your ass and get your things and get out of here.
Right? That's the cheaper solution because babysitting people is counterproductive anyway. This is a tool to empower all of us to take better care of our customers, right? What's the R? It's relationship. It's to help us foster, nurture, and develop the relationship with our customers.
Especially in today's AI fueled interconnected world, right? It's customer wants to know in advance if there's a delay to their order. They want to have, they don't want a relationship, most don't want a relationship with Tom, the order taker. He wants Tom, the account manager, right? Bringing new ideas, new thoughts, new ways to help enhance that business. Because to me, the online world, when you think of e-com and self-service capabilities, that's all table stakes. And technology is the underpinning of that. And you don't want to get spammed with emails and marketing fluff that really, or maybe 10% of the communication relates to your business. So how do you get surgical? How do you get just the information you want? Well, it's not magic. It requires some intelligence behind the scenes, and a good CRM system and its implementation can become that vehicle. Continued growth and account nurturing within their portfolio.
I'm telling you what. So Mark Cuban, and I forget the date of this quote, but it was relatively recent. And Cuban says there's going to be two kinds of companies in the future: those that are great at AI and everybody else. And I can tell you that AI, and people say fad, people say all types of things. But for the folks that are listening that might be about my age bracket, I'm going to ask you about our first jobs as salespeople, especially if you were on the road. What's one of the first things you had to know? Tony, you were in the food business. What those sales guys have to know? Which customers would let you use their phone, or where the pay phones were on your route so you could call your orders in. Cell phones changed everything. It probably saved you 3 to 5 hours a week in not having to look for a phone. AI is going to take care of a lot of this nickel and dime stuff. All the questions that customers call to ask you, if we've done a good job with AI combined with our ERP system and our CRM should give a customer any opportunity on our website to ask any question and get an accurate answer about their account, about their outstanding invoices, about their open orders. If we choose to be really transparent, You could go all Domino's pizza tracker on them, and they could see when their order was getting picked. And frankly, I think that the cutting edge companies, the people that are really going to do it, you're going to be so operationally solid and so confident in your ability to deliver, you're going to show video from your warehouse where they'll be able to see their stuff going out because you're going to be that good. And everybody else, they're going to get their lunch eaten.
So, Tom, if you're a company that has any kind of customer-facing vehicle for sales, for bringing in business, sounds like CRM is a must-have, not an option. Is that a fair statement?
In my mind, there's a lot of people. So, Tony, I always get a little bit hesitant because I remember early in my career, 1998, Y2K, computers aren't going to work, Tony. It's all going down. Everything's going to hell. So I'm sitting across the table from this guy, and he's like, we're not doing the upgrade. I'm like, but sir, you run a $75 million company. You can't not do this upgrade. He said, we're going to do it on pencil and paper if we have to. I said, that's insane. And he leaned into me and he said, boy, I made $25 million last year. How'd you do? Okay. I didn't make $25 million, and I'm not telling you you can't run your company without CRM. I am strongly suggesting to you that based on my experience, you will run a better company and provide better customer service at a lower cost if you use CRM properly.
Sounds like he needed an ego check. Do you tell him to go himself, or what did he end up doing?
No, he did not do the upgrade. It turns out, for those of us that were around in 1999, most computers actually did work. He was right, saved himself some money, and I suspect he still makes $25 million a year or whatever. I just try to be careful with some of that hard and fast advice because there's going to be somebody out there that'll tell you they did it without.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's just it kind of goes back to, if I go off topic a little bit here, it kind of goes back to, well, you can run disparate ERPs, because in so-and-so leaders past, it worked fine and businesses run fine with that. I'll meet you in the middle. You could have disparate modern ERP systems, but having a ERP system strategy where some are on-prem and legacy, I don't think that plays. You're leaving something on the table. Your competition will applaud. You have to get modernized. It's the cost of doing business. Don't ROI me on this ERP upgrade project. You got to get there. And then CRM. So then coming back to CRM, this is a must-have tool. Think about your Amazon experience. Think about that Domino pizza tracker. You may have a unique product, and the reason you're so successful is because in your head, what you offer to your customer, no one in the solar system can do it. But I promise you, you have competition, you have competitors. People are paying attention. People are trying to take you down. You got to stay ahead of the game.
Well, and those are all, I think it goes all the way back to one of your initial points, which is, why are we doing this? What success look like when we're finished? And how are we going to measure that? If we're careful and thoughtful about it, there's all kinds of intangible benefits that a couple of years in, you will just inherently know. But it's important to put really solid, clear numbers up. Here's where we're at now. This is what we expect the system to enable us to do in excess. Did we hit it or did we not hit it?
So how do you go about deciding what tool to use? Any solution provider will preach and proclaim they can connect to any other system. It's never as simple as they say. Or does it start back with, what are we trying to accomplish? What's our sales process? Now let's take a look at the tools that are available to assess what we feel is the best fit. Or should you be thinking about integration and the other systems that are in place already in your organization?
I think if you can stay within the same platform, right? Whether you're IBM or Oracle or Microsoft, if there is an opportunity to remain within the same platform, it's going to make your integration and reporting and analysis easier. Now, that may change. Things are getting easier to integrate all the time, but historically, that has been a challenge, right? So I would say that if you're on a particular platform, you should closely evaluate the CRM solution that's available through that provider. And I've heard a lot of conversation over the years about sort of best of breed. And the fact is, unless you are truly, and I'm just going to challenge all of us, right? Look yourself in the mirror. Are you truly a world-class technology-driven marketing organization? If that answer is yes, then maybe I start to lean towards a best of breed CRM solution, right? Because there's all kinds of marketing automation that gets really complicated really quickly, and you need the best tool for the job. When we're talking about salespeople, the fact is I got to make a few notes. I got to enter an opportunity, and I got to track it through whatever our sales process is. And any CRM is going to do that just fine. But what drives it most often is you hire some hotshot sales leader. They come in and they want to use whatever they used at their last job because that's the system they know. And human beings don't like change. We've already talked about that in a previous episode, right? So you hired Michael Jordan of sales, and Michael Jordan says that he needs these special shoes because that's what he always wears. You're probably going to go buy him the shoes, right? So the sales leader ultimately probably gets the CRM system they want because otherwise they have an out, right? Well, if you gave me better tools, then I had better results. But the reason I didn't succeed is because you didn't give me the tool.
Well,
I think it's a lame excuse, but it drives a lot of projects.
No, but that's a real world scenario, right? And I was faced with that in my past as well.
Yeah.
You're right. It's the perfect out if things go south. But if you already have a system implemented, but it just hasn't been put to use, and there hasn't been a top level commitment, because we talked about that earlier. This requires senior level buy-in and commitment, because you don't want those side conversations about how this is a waste of time and it's going to fail. We need support from the highest level.
Well, and one of the things that I advise clients, particularly if they're running, look, QuickBooks, Acumatica, Microsoft Dynamics, Business Central, they all have a base CRM functionality.
There is a user friendliness, user experience part to this. But let's say you commit and go down that path. How hard is it to pivot to an outside system if that attempt fails? Like, do we have to be thinking of that ahead of time, or you just go with it?
Most of these systems fail because users refuse to use it, mostly because executives don't force it. Okay? So that's it, 100%. So my position is, if you already own something, what do you say we KISS? Start simple. Let's get our contacts and companies in there. And we'll enter some opportunities and we'll enter our follow-up activities. Simple, right? Let's start there. Then, if you actually do it, prove to yourself that you will in fact do it.
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Because now, if you decide you need to pivot, and instead of spending 10, 20, maybe 40 to get some training and implementation or whatever you need to get your CRM that you already own rolling, well, okay, we need more. We need something more sophisticated. Great. you've already proven that you will use a CRM, and you're probably even more clear on what this one doesn't do that you need a new system to do. So I think it increases your odds when you get ready to make that larger investment in something more robust.
What about the questioning of what the funnel means? You have your 0%, 25%, 50, 75, 90. Is there a science to that? Is there, I mean, I think what we are trying to understand is come up with reporting that says, okay, here's our sanity check. I can tell you that this customer is 75%, but what's your close rate on accounts that are in that bucket?
Okay, everybody wants an easy button on this. The fact is, you have to decide. And people who don't understand have created an entire industry hiring people to come in, Sandler sales methodology, solution selling. That's all that stuff is trying to help you define and follow a sales process that says, if we're at this step, we all agree that this step means this, right? So the rule I used to have was if you've so when is something a qualified lead? Right? First step, we got to understand if we got a qualified lead. So for some companies, that means that they went to the website, they entered their demographic data, it fit a profile, and they asked for information. My view was if you had one conversation with this customer, email or phone, and you intended to follow up, it's a lead. And then, we had a series, and we just agreed, you got to draw a line someplace. So when is it a lead? Qualified? When is it, discovery, propose, whatever your steps are, right? So for some people, there's big legal reviews or proof of concepts or prototypes. But whatever your process is, pick the pivotal milestones, not too many. I'm a big fan of about 4. If you have something a little more complex, but no more than necessary. They need to be meaningful mileposts. And then use your best guess, right, to start. Because you're going from 0 data, probably get a little bad data along the way, and then it'll get better because you'll start to look at it. But we say, if I'm at this step, we think we close 10%. This step, I close 40%. You get the idea. And then you just start to look at your actuals. As you start to use the system, you will begin to get actual data. And then you can say, of the proposals that were at this step, we ultimately closed X. And then you can update your percentages and you get more accurate.
Sounds like you've had experience doing this before. You may have done a few.
Well, AI is going to do that for you. AI is going to produce all that for you. I promise you. You tell it's going to already know. It's going to say, hey, you're actually closing X percentage. Do you want to update the system?
An easy stall tactic, delay tactic to initiatives like this is trying to perfect what the model is. There is a point where you just have to roll up your sleeves and start using the system because the data, the dashboards, the reporting, it will guide you as to what may need to be tweaked, what needs to be improved. This isn't accurate. We're going to do, it's no different than any system you've implemented in the past. It's a journey. And I don't think you'll ever be done because it's that continuous improvement loop.
Keep your scope tight. Get live on something that is basic but meaningful. And then you can build into it when you prove to yourself you will, in fact, use this system.
Thanks again for tuning in. And remember, a CRM project, while it may have been a luxury back in the day, today it is a necessity, especially in this AI-fueled world that we are living in. You want to be one step ahead of your competition. Keep it simple. User adoption, change management, key focus areas in every episode, and it's especially important for projects like this. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right, cool. And you have the number of case studies you wanted?
Yeah, I got 2 of them. anyway. I mean, I was hoping to have more, but two's better than zero.
Who's better? Remedial math.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll keep rolling from where we were at, and you can hopefully splice it together. If we
Yeah.
continue to have trouble, I'll reboot.
Okay, so I was talking about. I ended when you disconnected, talking about. I have no fucking idea what I was saying. Everybody has a different if you're considering CRM within your it's fucking A. I think he froze. I just have a still of you with your mouth open, like you're at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.